Time Traveling 101. We are here in Spain at 6 p.m. Where these guys are is 9 a.m., but it could be something else. I don't know. So just be prepared. This We are in the middle of a time warp, black hole, whatever you're gonna think about it. They just woke up, and I need a coffee. That I'm not gonna say what this is. This is not coffee, and it has alcohol. But you don't need to know that. So how are you guys? How are you, Dinesh? How is Warren? How's things in your neck of
Great,
the
we're good.
We're good. We're good. How are you, pal?
doing fine? Have things getting better where you are, or just crazy as they were some months ago in terms of the vaccines and everything else?
No, it's
Dinesh?
getting better. It's definitely getting better, right, Warren?
Yeah. We're it's been really good. California's been I'm in San Jose. Dinesh is in Los Angeles, and California has been a model in some ways for the rest of the country for the rollout program. I think we have a very high vaccination rate. I think most people, thankfully, are getting vaccinated. So my children will be returning to school on Monday for the first time in about a year. And they'll be masked and social distance and all that stuff. But it seems like the adult population is being vaccinated pretty regularly. So it's good news. I know the United States has hoarded the vaccine a little bit, buddy. So my apologies. But how's it by you? Hopefully it's getting out to the rest of the world soon. But how's it by you, buddy?
No, we don't. As I was telling Dinesh, I hope more or less that I'm gonna get the first shot by the middle of May, because
Okay.
Spain is being really fast. Every vaccine we get, vaccination is going really fast because we have a huge, as you know, a really big, health public healthcare system. So it's all, we don't need a big
I'm jealous.
places to get the vaccines. We have, local hospitals every, two or three, four per town. So it's like bam, 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 bam. They call you, give you an appointment, and there you go. But they're being really strict with the age groups because people, as I was telling Dinesh before we went live, nobody's saying no to the vaccine. We have like 97%, 98% acceptance. So, of course, I tried to go online to check on my date, and literally the answer was, no, your age group is not even getting a date yet, because everybody goes to their appointment. So it's good. I am not in a rush. We've been waiting since March of last year. We had 3 months, as you know, in Spain of full lockdown. So
Yeah.
now, you know what? It'll happen. The light at the end of the tunnel is there. That's what we need to know, right?
Yep. Patience. It's the best way to. It's patience and the vaccine, the two best things, buddy.
And it's the same thing for California. For people in the frame of reference in Europe, I always say that California is as big as France or maybe Spain. So I would say it's the same for you guys in terms of the vaccination. Of course, I know about the weather is not the same, but the vaccination is the same in the north and in the south. The level of acceptance is the same, or it changes completely as if it were two different countries.
Oh, it changes. It changes. The further north you go, San Jose is one of the exceptions. The further north you go, the less acceptance there is. And I think it's partly why California's been able to vaccinate younger and younger people, because there is a lot of people that don't believe the vaccine is the right thing to do at this time.
Wow, there's the others in Europe is the opposite. Is well, in Spain actually, if you go the farther you go north, the levels are bigger. It's a very small difference, as I said before.
Yeah.
But you can see the difference there in between countries, the northern people and the southern people. People says it's because of the weather. I don't agree, but that's what they say. Is the sunnier it gets, people think the need for the vaccine is less because they can go to the beach, have fun, and all that. And I would say that's bullshit. Some people is stupid and some people isn't. That's it.
I think here it's to do with they say it's to do with population centers. The more populated an area is, the higher acceptance there is for the vaccine. It seems to be.
Okay, so imagine I'm your doctor. I just changed my name. My name is Dr. Victor Frankenstein. For now on, I'm sorry, that's what it is. This rotary pen is my vaccination tool. I just gave you 2 shots, but I just gave 2 shots to the rest of the world. Like Jim Carrey, it's like boom, boom. I just fucked the machine and I finished it. So, coronavirus out. What's the first thing you guys will do? First, Warren, then Dinesh, that you've been dying to do since March of last year. Like, oh my God, the moment they release me into the wild, I'm going to do this.
I'm going to get on a plane with my family and I'm going to travel somewhere, bro. That's the main thing. I'm going to take a vacation somewhere. I'll probably go out to dinner with my family. That'll be the first thing, and then take a vacation somewhere. Those are the two things that I'll do, certainly. How about you, Dinesh?
I don't know. I was glad that you went first, because I was like, I don't have an answer, and I was trying to think of one. I don't even know if I have. I mean, there's lots of things I want to do. I want to go to get a cocktail. I want to go to a comic convention. I want to go see a movie in the movie theater, but I don't think I'll do that for a little while, even vaccinated. I don't know. There's nothing that jumps to mind. I got to say, I have 2 little kids, and I'm a little embarrassed to say the lockdown was kind of, there's a big silver lining for me. If it wasn't for the lockdown, with Bad Idea, with everything else I'm doing, it would have been a lot of travel, and I would have missed a lot of great moments. I got to see every moment. So in a way, I'm a little sad, because now I don't have an excuse to not travel. So I'm going to miss some moments.
I had that for 5 months, because here from March to September the kid was home, but then in September last year every kid went back to school with with separation, with the mask and all that. But science said you can do it, and science has proven it was right. There have been almost no contagion at all in the schools here.
It's a smaller fatality rate than the seasonal flu for that young age group. As you get older, obviously it grows up, but for that age group, it's very safe to send them back to school. From what I've read,
absolutely. That's what they thought here. If you start, with high school, for example, they divided 50% can go to school, and the other 50%, can't. So even off, they changed the group that go in to the actual school. The odd groups go, this week, and the even groups go that week, and they change. So
they split the weeks.
Yeah, they switch. Oh
wow, I'd like to be in the group that doesn't have to go to school
every 2 weeks. Have a full week in the school and another week at home. So they never lost. The only group that got the choice of picking if they wanted to be at home or in the actual place was the college kids. They just told the college people, look, if you want to do it. You are older, you are in old age, you're an adult, you can pick. You can come to college, or you can do it at home. That depends on you.
Here in America, I don't know if this is just my experience, I have 4 or 5 friends that have had college kids that went back to college during the pandemic. Every one of them got COVID. But they tell me it's because they just flaunted the rules. You go to college, you immediately go to parties, you immediately make friends. You're in very close contact. So they all, from what I heard, they all got COVID. They were all fine because they're at that age where they're very strong.
It's hard.
But there's also a different thing that normally here, when you go to college, with exceptions, you don't go to college anywhere that is far from your hometown. Here it's not usual to do what you guys do, which is you go 90% of the universities here are public too. So you don't go to the, if you live in Galicia, in my state, you don't go to Madrid. Or if you live in Catalonia, where I am, you go to the Barcelona one of the satellites.
That's very close. You come back every weekend then? You come back for weekends then?
No, you come back home every day.
Oh, every day. Wow.
Because you are in your hometown.
Yeah.
Except if you want to do a special master's degree or PhD, which you don't have in your university, then you move. But normally people stays in their hometown to go to college. So normally they don't even move out of their parents' house.
Fascinating. It's not a bad system.
It's a completely different model. I would never, I would never be as stupid as to say better or worse. It's just different. But it makes things for universities much easier. In case this big number of contagions in Barcelona, for example, then universities here say everybody home.
Yeah.
But in Madrid, you don't have cases. They say come to college, because people lives, mostly their hometown. So the numbers in the town tell you what they should do in the college. So I guess it simplifies things, right?
It's using science, which is a wonderful idea to help stop the pandemic from spreading. Novel.
So, question for you two. First Warren, then Dinesh. Why, of all the opportunities you had in life, did you pick the most masochistic one? That is, why the fuck did you go and decide to do comics?
Well, David, you and I have been working together for what, 20 years at this point, buddy? I mean,
Yeah, don't
I mean,
remind me. It's been 20
possibly
years.
15. I mean, David.
Don't make me feel old.
For those who don't know, David and I go way back to Marvel, and David has received many, many, many panicked calls from me
Yep.
when a book was about to ship late, because David is the one of the, if not the finest, art agents in the history of our medium. So I have called on his services multiple times on many, many books, and worked with many of his artists, and some of them don't speak English fluently, and David, of course, helps us in that capacity, and others do, and David helps us in the capacity of getting pages in. We have a very, very, very long history working together. Why did I choose this? I guess because I love the medium so much, dude. You know what I mean? Because I love comics so much that for me, I was 10 years old, 9 years old when I first really dove into the Marvel universe, and was sort of taken aback by the majesty and mystery of it all.
Mhm.
And I grew up a Marvel zombie, as it were. So for me, it was something that I always wanted to do. I didn't really, at that age, obviously understand how comics were made, or that there were writers and artists and editors and all this different stuff. And but luckily, I applied for a job in Marvel one day, and luckily I got it after about 6 months worth of interviewing. And that was sort of my journey in. And then, like you and Dinesh, both, it's one of the most rewarding jobs you could do in the world. It's absolutely positively an amazing thing to have a piece of work finished that you could just hold in your hands, and it's a story, and you could have beautiful art by Adam Polina, and you could have beautiful art by Tony Millionaire, like geniuses, David. You know what I'm talking about. And seeing a page come in, and my buddy Matt Kim wrote it, and it's wonderfully written. So being able to work closely with the creative teams and build something that gets made quickly with very little interference, it's a real joy for me. So to me, that's a life well lived, as it were, David. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. By the way, I had Matt here on Monday, like 3 days ago.
You do?
And I told him I was going to have you guys here, and he's the best working relationship he's ever had in his life is with you guys. And he literally told me, Warren, you're the best editor he's ever worked with.
He's the best. Huge Keanu fan, bro. Every time I talk to him now, it's all about like Point Break, The Matrix. He just goes through check by check all the movies, bro. Just loves them, dude. Keanu can do no wrong in his eyes. But no, Matt's. We've had a collaboration now for 10 years at this point. I think since maybe a little bit less, 7 years, 8 years. We've been working month to month, and he's an exceptionally talented writer, a great guy, wonderful to work with. Someone who, we've worked with a lot of guys, especially over the past 10 years, Dinesh and I, Valiant and here at Bad Idea, who came up through some of the top shelf system. And it's interesting because a lot of those guys are used to hand selling their books at conventions. And when you have a writer or artist who's hand selling their books at the conventions, they really take almost nothing for granted, bro. It's a little bit like working at Valiant, where I was lucky. I had Iron Man and Thor and Daredevil at certain points in time, but I also had Exo and Bloodshot and Harbinger. It's a different thing to try to sell those characters than it is to try to sell something else, as it is here with Bad Idea. So when you have a writer or an artist who's come up through a super indie kind of framework, there's nothing that they take for granted. And they realize that getting the books into people's hands and getting them well done and working hard to make them great, everything starts there. So he's one of our favorite people in the whole wide world. Not only is he super talented, but he gets it. He understands how hard this gig is and how crowded the industry is, and how difficult it is and how competitive it is. So he's a guy that we've gone back to over and over again, like our buddy Robin Diddy, Josh Dysart, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, Matt, you can stop watching now. Leave, because we want to know, now we want to say what we really think about you.
That script, buddy.
We want to say what we really think about you. Now, the niceties are just because we think you're watching. So fuck off. Go. Dinesh.
Why? What I really think of Matt Kim?
Masochistic has to do comics.
Everything Warren says right. Comics are wonderful. There's no other process like it. But I think also there's something specific about Bad Idea. It represents a different kind of challenge, right? It's lovely. It's much better than video games, movies, TV, novels. The collaboration in the small group, the speed of comics. You can't get that anywhere else that I found. But it's very, very grueling, as you say. It takes pieces of you, it takes chunks out of you. Why this was interesting, I think, is because on top of what we'd already done, what we'd already accomplished in the comic world, this was a new challenge. It was, can we do this in a way that comics doesn't usually allow people to do? We really have done this on our terms, which is like trying to convince a wall to move, right? Limited stores, not that much content, no variants, no digital, no trades, all these crazy things. It just felt like a fun challenge. So that's why Bad Idea.
Do you guys? I know as you said before, Warren, you live in the north of California. Dinesh, you live in the south. But do you guys are you really willing or dying to go back to the office when the office is back, or?
We're in the office. This is part of the Bad Idea plan. Is in order to do the kinds of crazy things we're doing. And again, it's we don't know if it's going to work. It seems to be working really well, but at first we didn't know at all if it's going to work. It was an interesting challenge that may have taught us a lot, even as a failure. Failures are very important. But part of what we decided to do was not have an office. So there is vaccine, no vaccine, COVID, no COVID. We would have been working just the way we are. And that's one of the pieces that we decided, do you absolutely need that? You know better than anybody. We've worked with you and with your artists remotely the entire time.
You don't.
Why can't we do that?
Let's just be honest. I don't think you did. I've never thought, and I still think you don't need it. You don't need an office.
You don't need it, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. It's like it's when the diamond thing happened. With some people, I kept talking about the future, and my question to everybody was, and you guys and myself have discussed this in the past, in a party or having a drink or dinner or something. And my question always was, do we need the middleman? Do we really need the middleman? Do we need the offices? The structure sometimes feels so old, feels so dated.
Yeah.
That comics have been repeating the same, mantras. You remember the old phrase, Warren, that didn't happen as much as Marvel as in other places, but it was like, we've always done things this way. This is how we do things. This is how we'll always do the thing. And you're like, why? Why can't you change?
Yeah, it's a terrible phrase.
But it's ingrained in the system, right? So it's Bad Idea in a way about changing the system.
We're definitely doing massive changes to the system. But by the same token, we don't have variants. We're not doing digital. We don't have trades. We're just selling comics in comic book shops. It's really our mantra. So in some ways, it's, we are only in, I think, 250 retail stores. We're not distributing to every retailer in America. We have a program where we ask our retail partners to adhere to certain insane rules. And thankfully, most of them have done so to date. But structurally also, David, we are building our company through the direct market and with retailers, with our partners. That's a critical component of how we're doing business right now. We saw that being very successful at Valiant. And there are different types of retailers with different goals and different strategies. So it's not for everyone, and that's totally cool. But I think, as Dinesh mentioned earlier, having spent 8 years trying to sell independent comics at Valiant, we see that there are certain shops that just don't want to carry Exo Man of War or Bloodshot, and that's totally cool. Our goal here is not to be something that everyone likes, but maybe something that a few people, it's their favorite. So for us, that's really critical. But we have gotten a healthy amount of flack from just about everyone from this strategy. But for us, we feel like it's a sound one, and it's a good one, and we've had a lot of success to date. Hopefully, it won't all blow up in our faces, as Dinesh mentioned a few minutes ago. But it's something that we feel is just a different way to approach the question, and just to really try to focus on the content. One of the reasons why we don't have offices is because all of our money is going into the A&E and the printing and building the company. All of our money is, going into the product, which is why we have big, beautiful books, why the paper quality is so great, why the content hopefully is so great. That's not really for me to say. Everybody accuses me of liking my own cooking. But, Dinesh and I are really proud of the books and the teams and the product that we're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some things that are really helpful for us. If you take a look at the magazine industry, if you take a look at the newspaper industry, if you take a look at some traditional print industries, they've been leveled, especially over the past decade.
Yeah.
The magazine industry has all but disappeared. They're still published, but those editorial departments have been gutted. They've been purchased by venture capital firms that are, keeping them alive, sort of like ghost ships. And we have a really, really, really vibrant industry right now. Whether it's Marvel, DC, Image, Dynamite, Dark Horse, IDW, Valiant, or Bad Idea, there's a lot of product moving through those shops.
Yeah.
And one of those things that has allowed those shops that has allowed the industry to thrive really has been the retailers, who are incredibly hardworking, who are extremely smart, and who know their business inside out. So for us, we don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are pieces that we can pick and hopefully utilize.
Mm-hmm. Dinesh?
In terms of, sorry, Warren's talking so long. I completely forgot your question.
Pac-Man right now. He loves Pac-Man. He's super excited. He keeps trying to get the high score. He tells me every day. No, he was asking Dinesh what components can we sort of are we doing in the business?
Yeah. Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yes.
Breaking them all, breaking the rules. What's I know it's not the goal, but how does that help in your model of what bad ideas?
100%. What if we're successful, it's 100% what will happen, but it's also 100% not our goal. We're very selfish, David. We're just trying to make our lives easier. And so we're trying to cut out all the things that we don't really think are important, that get in the way of doing the things that we love, and which fuck up our day. So no commute, man. I don't want to commute to an office. I was commuting to New York from LA. That's no fun. Warren gets to be at home with his kids and his wife in San Jose. He doesn't need to commute. The variants they're important for specific stores, but often you do as much work on the variants as you do on the interiors for each book. It's that much A&E, it's that much time. So we're just trying to cut all that out. In time, maybe we'll start adding some of these pieces back. Unlikely, though, seeing the response we've had. Warren says we've had a lot of flack. We have had a lot of flack, but it's been largely empty from what we've seen. It's just been largely people that just want to have an opinion on the internet. What we're seeing in the stores, what we're seeing from readers is much, much, much greater than we ever anticipated.
Just so you know, kids, what you read on the internet doesn't represent shit. Nothing. It's like 1% of people that is very loud. They don't count. Ignore them. As we were saying,
what's fascinating is we're also seeing people, and sometimes you can recognize the names, right? We're seeing people that are screaming at us, and then we look over at their orders, and it's like their orders went up. Or we see people screaming at us, and then we call their local store, and it's like, oh yeah, they're in here every month. They're buying all the books. They know everything you're doing.
It's funny.
It's interesting duality.
I was talking to one of my artists yesterday, and she was telling me, but people were saying blah, 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 blah about this book, and they were not going to buy it, blah, blah, blah. And I was telling her, every single one of that people bought it. Like, how do we know? Because that's how the internet loud people works. They keep saying, that's crap. I'm not going to buy it, blah, blah, blah. No more crossovers for me. That's the same guy who buys all the crossovers, complains about everything, and is going to keep buying it. So if the number of people who complains and says that's bad, that's the number of people you know for sure are going to buy it. So
you're absolutely right. And partly I think that's been our success is we're very noisy and everyone has an opinion, and therefore everyone knows who we are. And if you know who we are, we're halfway to convincing you to get the books.
Absolutely. And this is another part that I don't know if you have noticed it, you guys, because it got exactly right in the middle of your start as a company with Bad Idea. In Spain and, talking to CB at Marvel and other people, they have told me that the sales with amidst the pandemic have grown up exponentially, not progressively. In Spain, the numbers for books and comics have grown a lot. that's been good for you guys, right? To launch in the middle of this because it pushed you higher. I hope.
Yeah, we think so. What seems to be happening is there's less product, there's less marketing because everyone's waiting for the pandemic to end. There's more cash with the stores because they're selling collectibles. Like, I mean, I'm sure the art world, the back issue world has gone nuts. And so they have more money to invest in their business. And when you have someone new like us, they're able to take a real position and build a real audience.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we're getting a new audience, Warren, with the pandemic, or is the lost one that is coming back, or both?
I don't know. It's a great question. It's nice to hear from the retailers that they're doing so well. I mean, a year ago, when this all started, I think when I think we donated $25,000 to Bink. We just sent it out to the retailers, I should say. It wasn't through Bink. And we sent every store that was in our network $250 just to, we know it wasn't going to be life-changing money, but if it was a tiny little bit of money to help them, pay an employee for a week or buy groceries or just try to get over the hump, and we had no idea what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So when you flash forward a year to hear that so many retailers are doing so well, and that there are more people in the shops and they're buying stuff. I love seeing this, David. I mean, we went through the last decade of Marvel thinking that every time a Spider-Man movie would come up, sales would go up, and they never did.
Nope.
There's no correlation between that. So to see people return to reading comics, obviously you don't have to sit in a movie theater to read a comic. It's a thing you can do in isolation, or you can do by yourself. You can, share a comic. There's all sorts of benefits that the pandemic allowed to sort of occur in regard to that particular business model.
Mm-hmm.
And as Dinesh noted, the back market, the collectability market, hopefully has helped as well, the back issue market. So it's really it's been wonderful to see. Hopefully these are readers who are here and who will stick around, because I do think that the creators that we have in the medium right now are doing some extraordinary work across the board. Hopefully that's good.
And do you agree, Dinesh and Warren, that we are in a golden age in terms of creativity and the level of different kind of books and different kind of creators that we have in the industry right now? I don't think we've ever been in this position to be able to find everything and anything when we want to read it.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. It's great to see. It's great to see so many people that we're working with doing such wonderful work across so many different companies. It's great to see the work they're doing here at Bad Idea. It's just nice, and a lot of that, David, I think goes back to the direct market, goes back to the retailers, that there's a really healthy supply system that allows the books to get on shelves. And even a year ago, we paused for a year. We were going to launch in March 2020, and then we pushed that back a year. And we doubled our efforts and really focused on the content and doubled the amount of books that we were doing. But it's a pretty wonderful age to be reading comics. I've been at the shop almost every week at this point. I'm going to head over today with my son, to Elusive in San Jose, and it's wonderful to see how many different books there are that are out. I'm buying all these different kinds of things. I was talking to John Barber last week about Turtles and how much I love the Last Ronin and all the stuff that's going on from so many different companies. So it's great to see. I think it's a good time, man.
What do you think, Dinesh?
Yeah, it's wonderful. I wonder if it's a golden age or we leveled up as an industry. I don't know. I wonder if it ever goes back. Golden age means that we're going to have a period where it's great, and then it's going to go back to what we know as normal. But with the ubiquity of storytelling, comic book storytelling now in every medium, movies obviously have changed. Television has changed in the last few years. I see it in video games as well. What we know as comic book sequential storytelling has now infected, it seems, all the other entertainment fields. And have they become giant commercials when they're adapted for our industry? I wonder if it's now just us getting used to the idea that everyone on the planet knows about comics and is open to reading them. And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, but remember, from golden you can go to platinum.
Yeah, that's true.
So we can still get better. But I meant in terms of the very different amount of publishers and kinds of books that you can get now. I mean, something that was being always very common in European comics and in manga, that you can find comics about everything, hasn't been that usual in the US. It was mostly superheroes and then some indies. But right now, with as many publishers, and you are one of those cases, you can get a completely different amount and and a completely different genres in any kind in comics that you couldn't some years ago, right?
But it's connected, right? It all comes back to being able to keep that business going, and that comes back to money. And so if we have all these adaptations, if we have all this other entertainment systems feeding off of comics, it puts money back into comics. So like even look at Warren and I, we have Bad Idea, which we're able to do things that we never would have been able to do at Valiant, because some people came in and they bought Valiant and they wanted to turn them into movies and TV shows. And that allowed us the freedom to now go dive deeper into comics. I think we're seeing that in a lot of places. I think there are companies that are just straight up movie and TV pitching companies, and they're fronting content. And then there's companies that just love the medium, and they're here because they know that there's more licensing and movies may come, but they just want to make comics.
Yeah.
So we get all of it.
Exactly. But also there's the thing, Warren, and as an editor, you know it better than anybody in this world, which is when somebody sends you something and he clearly doesn't give a shit about it being a comic, he's sending you a pitch for a movie that he wants you to publish so a producer can buy it. How bad are those books? Be honest. How bad are them?
Well, look, for me, we just put out a book called Wellsville and Rocks and Minerals, and that's one that I was holding up a little bit before. And we have two stories here. The first story is about a little boy who gets swallowed by a whale. He falls off his dad's fishing boat, and he wakes up and sees that he's inside the belly of a whale, and there are these little sea creatures. And he knows that if he doesn't get out of the belly, there's going to be his father's going to kill the whale. And then the second book is called Rocks and Minerals, which is about little rocks and minerals walking around with shoes on in a post-apocalyptic environment, and it's drawn by Tony Millionaire, who we somehow managed to get through some confluence of luck and skill and just madness. So
bribery, blackmail, extortion.
Yeah, and it's colored by Matt Hollingsworth and Jim Campbell, who are both brilliant colorists, and it's written by Matt. So for me, this is all but not adaptable in any capacity. Like Dinesh and I were talking about this, just like we're just doing this because we love the story. Maybe it's because we have kids now and it's an all ages book. You can pick it up and read it to your kid at night. And, this could be anyone's, first book. It's wonderful. So for us, we're doing stuff but the skill level is so high that Matt brought to us. The story is like a Pixar story or like a Miyazaki story. Whereas if you look at those stories, it's not about the world ending or, some kind of crisis that needs to be fixed or, getting a group together to stop some intergalactic threat. It's very small. It's very clean. But those are beautiful stories. So, they're there. But, we're very proud of it. And that's what we're trying to do now. It's just these fun stories, whether Teeniac or that, or just really silly stuff, Tony has this little diamond with shoes and they're like big clogs, and she's walking around, and it's just, you're looking at this and you're just like, this is genius. This is pure genius pouring onto the page. So, we're very lucky to have this crew that we're running with, because I never worry that they're going to turn something in that they think could be a pitch or a TV show or a movie. Now, if that happens, we're obviously not ignoring so much of what our industry has become. Or as you're mentioning, what so many people are sitting down to the page to make that their goal. But it doesn't work that way. I think Dinesh and I, we've been doing this. If you sit down to start there, you're not going to get there.
Yeah,
the only way to get there is if you build something that people love as a comic. And do that, you have to respect and love the medium, I think. And otherwise, the thing may get optioned, but it's not going to work. It just doesn't work that way.
But I can't believe that you guys haven't received a pitch that is clearly a guy or girl that doesn't give a shit about comics and that just wants to use you. So you're probably
of course.
So it's made into a movie.
Every 3 days, Warren calls me,
pitches because
and he's got his movie pitches. Warren's got these movie pitches all the time. He had one the other day. It was fascinating. It was about a guy that goes back in time to kill the unborn son of the savior of humanity. And I was like, this is great. It's just a Terminator. And he goes, yeah, but remake. I was like, I have to explain movie business to Warren constantly.
I get confused all the time, dude. It's so strange. I've never seen the Terminator or Terminator 2 for that matter. So it's a constant. It's like Memento. You know what I mean?
He pitched me a World War II soldier that gets frozen in ice, and throw it out in the present day. And I was like, that's already a movie and a comic book, Warren.
It was a dog, though. The dog got frozen in ice, and then they throw the dog out.
No, if it was a dog, you can do that. I don't think there's a dog captain. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say the name. Maybe trademarks. There's some questions here, so let me go with them, and then I'll keep asking you stupid things. Baron Simo, hey, hello, Baron Simo. Should we be afraid of you, or are you gonna dance? If you're gonna dance, we're fine. Drink and Draw, Costa Rica. Hey there, guys. Welcome. Big hellos from Costa Rica. Love your work. Pedro de Mercader, hello, everyone. What are the things you have that you learned from your Valiant work that you have applied to Bad Idea? Dinesh first, please.
Oh, man.
Nothing.
I mean,
nothing.
there's so many. We made so many mistakes at Valiant. I think that I don't even know what category to tackle. Like, is it editorial? Is it business? Is it the promotions? I mean, everything constantly. Where it really is a one long trajectory. I think at Valiant we started with all the things that everyone said ideally a publisher should do. Mm-hmm. And then we started to chip away at what was working, what wasn't working. And so you're seeing us really kind of try and perfect this system, both in terms of storytelling, business, and promotion. None of our books at Bad Idea are 20 or 22 pages. The one that Warren just held up is 72 pages. That's conventional wisdom. Don't do that. Don't build longer stories. It's not worth the money. Absolutely is. Mm-hmm. You need to tell the story, give the story as much space as it needs to be told. All of our books include backups, 8-page backups. Mm-hmm. That's something no one ever does. Anthologies are a big no-no. I think it's a constant evolution for us. Warren, do you agree?
Yeah, I think one of the lessons that we took away from Valiant, I think, is we have a good team here. It's me, Dinesh. It's Josh Johns, who's our head of marketing. It's Adam Freeman, who's our head of sales, and it's Hunter Goranson, who's our publisher. We have Carl Ballas here. We just have a new hire named Anthony. He's on board now. So we have like a real good team, and I think
you always forget Bobby. You're gonna break his heart.
Our intern Bobby, who's I like him. Dinesh hates him. He's got a real right with him. I'm trying to help the kid out, but we have a good team here. I think that the success we had at Valiant, part of it is because we have that good team here. Mm-hmm. So not trying to reinvent the wheel and working with people that we know, and we know what our strengths and weaknesses are and what our shorthand is and stuff like that. I think that's been a very valuable lesson at this point. And look, when we came into Valiant in 2011, 2012, obviously Dinesh had the IP, many years before that. But when we came into Valiant and started publishing in 2012, we were one of the first ones out of the gate that was sort of like a new company. Mm-hmm. We weren't, the only ones, but now you look around and there are 19 different companies that have just been publishing for 6 months or 12 months. So it's, what we did there, I think, was people saw this as a model from a business standpoint that could work. Especially selling the company. So I think that on one side, we're just trying to take those lessons and really apply them to the content and just building a company as we've said a couple of times, that we're going to enjoy the process as much as we can.
And that's what Dinesh, what you mentioned before about, that book that Warren showed being 72 pages. It's always been, I think, part of the bigger. Yes, please show it. People buy it. Buy it. If you don't buy it, I know where you live.
Tony Millionaire.
Look at those shoes. Fucking genius. Tony Millionaire. Let me say it. Fucking genius. I haven't read that book, but I have read What Keeps Done Before.
I'm going to send you a copy, David.
Thank you so much, sir. I wasn't asking, but thank you. I'm
going to send you a box.
But I was saying, the problem with the American comics in general, as you know, it's got to be 20 pages, blah, blah, blah. Why?
Yeah.
And now I'm asking seriously, why does it have to be 20 pages?
Money.
What's the limit? The story is longer, shorter. I'm not saying it can't be 20 pages. But if it needs more, what's the problem? Is that something that you guys had really clear since the beginning when you started Bad Idea? Is the story is going to take, whenever it goes, is going to take as many pages as it needs, and that's how you're going to roll?
Yeah, I think certainly for Bad Idea, even when we were at the tail end of Valiant, we were doing that. At first it started, even our first book at Valiant, X Man War 1, it was 29 pages. True. But that was a big decision that we made. And then we evolved into, okay, our first issues, probably we should extend them. And then we started to find the event series, we should extend all of it. Not extend, but whatever it needs, all the issues. towards the end of Valiant, it was whenever we needed it. And here at Bad Idea, we don't even have a conversation. The only conversation we have is, okay, we got to let the printer know that we need to upgrade the size of the book. It's a constant. We're trying to make it as a benefit, a prestige product at Bad Idea. I think the reason that people do it is just money. It's just they can get away with it. But you look at the birth of Marvel, those original books, the introductions of Thor, Captain America, X-Men, they weren't 22 pages. They would move around. People don't talk about it, but they were. Stanley would write more, Kirby would draw more. They change.
Yeah. Stan used the pages he thought he needed to tell those stories, and that's true. People doesn't remember. They tend to think it was all cut by the same, and it wasn't. They just moved around with the pages they needed. So that's Warren, please.
You know this. I'm sure you know this, David. But when you're working for a corporation that's worth $200 billion, they're not necessarily interested in page count. They're interested in hitting their marks. So for us, not having to report to someone who's reporting to someone who's reporting to someone who's reporting to someone who's reporting to someone, it's nice to just throw caution to the wind and kind of build what we want to build and make the stories how we want to make them for the most part. We've one of our series we extended by 2 issues because the story needed it. There's Tankers is 34 pages. I think the first issue of ENIAC is 39 pages. So pound for pound, we probably are unquestionably the best deal in the stands for our price point. I'd imagine. So we're.
But it goes the other way as well. Hero Trade was just 8.
Yeah,
that's all I needed.
Yeah, I mean, what was Amazing Fantasy? I mean, how long was that story?
12.
The first 15, 12. Matt's, we just did a Hank Howard Pizza Detective story. We literally just did a story about a pizza detective, and we're putting that out as a $1 book in a couple of weeks. Our backup in there is a superhero book called Save Now, which is also 8 pages. But we did a story about a pizza detective, David, a guy who works for a corporate pizza chain and is trying to solve a case. Robert Venditti wrote it, and we have Lapham drawing it. I was talking with Robert yesterday about a sequel, and he's like, I need more space. He's like, the only way I can do this in less space is if Lapham draws it, because David's such a master storyteller. When you have, Lapham or, David would hate me to say this, or Ditko or Kirby, when you have someone who understands the medium and has been ingrained in it for 20 years and knows every nuance and how to frame a panel and how to tell the story, what you can do, it's not just about page count. It's also about just, how the storyteller sees the page, which is a whole separate thing, the game within the game. So it's kind of wonderful just to not have to worry about those kind of limitations.
Yeah, what I said about having to be 20, I didn't mean it only to go with a bigger page count. I was talking about the other side too. You can just say I'm going to do an anthology with 6-8 pages, or one with 4 pages, or 2 with 10 pages, just because that's the story you want to tell, right?
Yeah. This is what happens when your editor is your CEO, is your CFO. It's just rife with conflicts of interest.
Okay.
I've got a rubber stamp just as approved. There's no denying about it. You know what I mean? Just read a script.
Okay, Hank Lee. Hi guys, greetings from Amsterdam. Looking forward to your comics. We are waiting for our store's application to go through.
They have to apply. We haven't had a single store from Amsterdam apply. If he's got a local store, tell him to have them apply.
This is the store.
What's the name of the store?
Hank.
It's a store?
Yep.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Who did they?
Hank.
That's fascinating.
In Amsterdam. He says, greetings from Amsterdam. Looking forward to your comics. We're waiting on our store's application to go through. And he just added, we did send the application.
Okay,
Amsterdam, Netherlands. No.
Yeah. No, I understood. I'm trying to think of how to get. They must have sent it to somewhere that's disappeared into the ether.
If you tweet,
I don't like Adam. Let's just give him his email address out. So email Adam ATOM at badideacorp.com, badideacorp.com, and that'll speed it up.
Adam, I'm sorry, it wasn't me. That wasn't my idea. I just didn't keep the email opening. It wasn't Warren, wasn't me. That was.
Anyone else that wants to send Adam an email?
Yeah, Hank says we sent it to Adam.
I'm gonna blame Adam.
We're going to have to kick Adam's ass. Okay. Send it again.
Warren and I will look into it
my friend, it got lost.
Yeah, we will look into it. We have plenty of stores in Europe.
Don't go back. Send it again.
We have a lot of stores in Europe. We love our European retailers, and we will definitely keep an eye out for that.
We want to be the first one in our country. Okay, so send it again. That's it. Okay, so
I've always wanted to go to Amsterdam.
It's wonderful. You'd love it, Warren. The Van Gogh Museum is incredible. Might be the best museum in the world.
That was the answer I was looking before, David.
You know, guys, I run Heroes Comic Con in the guest, not the rest. And one of the shows I run in Europe is Heroes Comic Con, and it's in Utrecht, which is like 40 minutes from Amsterdam. That's when we do the bigger comic show there. So we'll talk. When that shows come back, and it'll probably come back in November, we'll talk.
Texting Adam right now.
Things can be done. Let's say it that way. Okay. And Hank, I know he's going to agree about helping on that, right?
Yes.
Because you want to be the first one in the country.
I'm asking him if I'm just an idiot and they have applied and I've missed it.
It's fine.
Probably that's what happened.
It's fine. He can send it again. It's no problem. So, Pedro de Mercaderas, any chance to see some of the Bad Idea comics in Spain?
Sure.
If any store applies.
I'm so gun shy now.
I think we definitely have stores in the UK. I thought we had a couple of stores in Spain, but we may have them in our waiting list for the next round. I'm not 100% sure.
We do. We have some on the waiting list.
But we do have a presence in Europe. We do want to distribute to Europe. We have a European fulfillment, so we've set that up. So we're we have 250 stores at this point in time. We're trying not to all die very quickly, so we're trying to be patient and judicious. And luckily we have Adam Freeman, who is our sales guy, and who's dare I say the finest sales guy in the industry, second to none, except for Anthony, who's close second. But Adam's been working 22 hours a day for the last 6 months. So email him. We'll get it in the queue, certainly.
And then you raise that email.
Hank just got approved. Look at that. Hank literally just got approved. They're in the wings now.
See, there you go.
You have the wrong people on the call. You need to have Adam. You don't need us.
Yes,
Adam, please do
the checklist. Approved.
See, Hank just said, please drop by. We'll invite you with David Macho. See?
We'd love it.
Look at that one.
I thought you could be fixed. And if it's and you can work with them to have the books at the show, blah blah blah. Hank, start working. You can call me whenever. Not now. Wait, we're live. Yes, in case you didn't know. So let me see. Pedro Mercader asks, the nice way to ask a question from him is, do you have any advice for pitching? And now let me rephrase that question is, what are the things that you love to see on a pitch that like, oh my God, I would love it to do that? And what are the things that made you roll your eyes and said, not again, you bastard, why are you doing that to me?
Well, David, you're as equipped to answer this question as we are, buddy. You've been in this game a while. I mean,
but he's not asking me.
Best thing to do to pitch Warren. Best way to pitch Warren is include tickets to Amsterdam.
Or pigeons. The story about a pigeon. I'm all in. No, here's what I'll say.
That's no joke. That's no joke. You put a pigeon in your comic book pitch to Warren, it gets approved. It's hilarious.
I'd say there are two keys here. The first one is make it a comic. Most editors, especially now, I'm sure you guys have seen over the last year, editorial is for the most part under siege, if those jobs still exist, and they do still exist. But an editor, David, I mean, you know this, you interface with tons of editors. They're probably editing more books now than they ever have in the history of the medium. Absolutely. I mean, the editor might have 10, 15, 20 books that they're managing. So if you want to get an editor's ear, don't send them a pitch, which is a 8-page Word doc. They're not going to read it. Make it a comic. If you're a writer, find an artist. The advice I would have given pre-COVID would have been go to a convention and find an artist in Artist Alley and talk to them. Become friends with an artist. If you're an artist, you can do this with a writer as well. You might be a writer artist by yourself, which is advantageous. But make it a comic. Make it a 5-page comic. Make it an 8-page comic. Don't make it too long. Try to build a proof of concept and try to get it into someone's hands. No one's going to hire you right now to fix the X-Men or the Avengers or Batman or Superman. DC and Marvel have plans for those things. So don't come in with what you're going to do with the next arc of X-Men, but build a 5 or 8 page story that's near and dear to your heart that you care about. That says something that's not in the marketplace right now, hopefully, or at least is a good example of something. And then secondly, and this is as important, is, if I tried to put Tony Millionaire on the Avengers, I don't know if Marvel would go for it, nor should they. It wouldn't make sense. I mean, I do it. I think it would be awesome. But Marvel probably would not, and DC probably, wouldn't put him on, the next arc of Justice League. And that just makes sense. So but that doesn't mean that Tony's not a genius, and it doesn't mean that Tony can't have a long and amazing career in comics. So just try to figure out what you want to do as an artist or writer. And most people try to adhere to the superhero genre, but not everything has to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say make it a comic, and I'd say just try to figure out what you want to do. Art Spiegelman is one of the greatest creators in the history of our medium, but he's not built for Marvel or DC, and that has helped the medium enormously.
Absolutely.
So, those are the 2 bits of advice I'd give.
And if you let me add one thing to that, is I always tell guys, please inform yourself about the publisher you're going to talk to before you talk to them. Because don't go with something that they don't publish or care for. Because if you go that way, the publisher, the moment they see the stuff that you don't care about what they do, you know what? You get 0 points.
Yep.
You got to inform yourself where you're going to talk to. That's it. Dinesh, right? What do you think?
I think you guys are right. I think especially about the publisher. If you're going for a publisher that's trying to build movies and TV shows, you want to pitch them that. If you're going to a publisher like us, I think for Bad Idea, we're always looking for character, a little nugget of character. We're very hands-on, so if there's a kernel there, then we get very excited. It doesn't have to be fully formed. Other publishers, they want it fully formed. They just want to push it to the next stage. Mm-hmm. So it depends, I think, what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. But there's also that old adage about editors love people who finishes things, right? That's also that.
Yep.
Do something and publish it wherever, online, in a fanzine, wherever. Just publish it because that's the way you get noticed, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And what's that saying, David? You have to be fast, good, or nice. You have to be 2 of those 3 things. You have to be very fast, you have to be very good, or you have to be very nice. And if you're 2 of those 3 things, you've got a shot.
Absolutely. Victor Renacue says, hi from Colombia. Coming a little late. You're fine. He says, is there any advice for aspiring artists, and what do you look for in a portfolio? Thank you very much. So we covered the writing, and now we have to cover the artist part.
For me, clarity of storytelling is key above all else. I'm not looking so much for someone who can, render in a superhero style. I've worked with many of David's wonderful artists. We had a long and glorious relationship with Kafu for many, many years at Valiant. He launched many books for us. I know he's at Marvel now. He just did an Iron Man book, David, right? Is that what he's on right now?
Yep.
A great guy, great storyteller. And, I can always use someone like Kafu because I can always tell the story in his style, but that's not all that I need. Mm-hmm. Again, going back to, figure out what you want to do as an artist, figure out what your style is. It will be easier if it's a superhero style. There are more books in the marketplace that you can get booked on as a work for hire artist with a set page rate. But that's not necessarily, you have to find out what your goal is. That's really, I think, one of the keys. What do you want to do? Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell Mouse? Do you want to tell Mackies? Do you want to tell stories about X-Men? What's your goal? Because if you stop banging your head against the ceiling and trying to get into those things, if that's not really where your style is, I think that's helpful. Read the Scott McCloud book. Mm-hmm. Read as much as you can about storytelling in comics. There are lots of very excellent books out there about read the Eisner stuff, all the early Eisner stuff, all the books that he's put out about storytelling. Read the Miller Eisner book, read Story by McKee. Just really try to dig in and take lessons from the people who've come before you. Take a look at the work that Miller did. Take a look at the work that Miller and Klaus did. Yeah. There's so many great. I think you sent me some Breccia stuff a while ago, David. Yes. We were just talking about artists. Look at Breccia. I mean, there are masters all over the place here. Mm-hmm. So look at how they tell the story. And I'm not saying copy them, but the more rules the more you could break. That's the most important thing.
I say copy.
Yeah, or copy them.
Yeah.
Or copy.
When
It's
you're
copyright.
starting, I will always repeat that to young guys. When you're
Yes.
starting, it's never bad to copy. You learn a lot copying. Then
Yeah, yeah.
you move away and become yourself. But copying at the start, they are told in schools or finance, whatever. Oh no, copy is really bad. And I would say that's bullshit. At the beginning, you need to do it to learn.
Yeah, I think Hunter S. Thompson transcribed either some I forgot what it was, but there were a couple of books that Hunter S. Thompson sat down and rewrote on a typewriter.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like pretty
Just
sure
to understand the structure of it.
just to understand the
Get it
structure, the page
Wow.
count. So David, I don't mean copy as like if you just are a clone, you're gonna hit a ceiling. And you'll
Yeah, of
never-
course, absolutely. I know what you mean. I see what you mean.
But David's absolutely right. Like look at what look at how a page is laid out. Look at the pacing. Look at the story. Copy. Look at how a hand is drawn. Look at how it's drawn. Like draw it like this 1,000 times. Like this 1,000 times. Like this. Like you just have to. I talked to Apollo about this years ago, and he's talking about how it's really more modeling, and it's really just looking at the modeling and the 3-dimensional modeling as opposed to just the penciling, which is really an interesting insight.
Yeah.
So it's really just you have to get the reps in. It's all about reps, and that's one of the great things about comics, which makes the storytellers in our medium so sharp and so razor sharp, is that Matt Kim may have told 200, 300 stories by now, whereas in other media you may get 2 or 3 of those over 10 or 15 years. The reps that you get here are so strong. That's why the editors, especially the great ones like Axel or Brevoort or some of the other ones, are so sharp because they've been doing this for so long. They've had so many reps under their belt. It's like starting, it's like being a striker on a soccer match and this is your 100th game or whatever.
Yeah.
I did that for Dinesh. It's
for David.
So
Warren's always making sports analogies to me from American sports, and I'm never sure what he means. He's always like, you got to step up to the plate and get a touchdown. I'm like, isn't that 2 sports? I don't know what you're talking about.
So practice. And you have to be dedicated to it.
I always use the American sports analogy, the basketball analogy, which is Dennis Rodman. Because Dennis Rodman wasn't the taller, he wasn't the strongest or the tallest. He was the guy who'd been training his mind so many times. He always knew when the ball was going to rebound, when and where. He was always in the perfect position.
Yeah.
So I think that for editors, it's the same thing. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree, which is you've done it so many times that it doesn't take you. Mark Chiavello told me that once about when I had him here. Said, look, I know that you and me know if an artist is going to make it by the first panel, because we've done it so many times. We don't need to get farther than that. You know it. You just know it because you've been doing it so many times. So for you guys, I guess it's the same, right?
Yeah. One of the real joys also is like passing on someone and then they come back a year later and they're a razor and you're just like, wow. Or they've taken the next leap. Not that they're a razor and they're perfect, but you can see that they've spent 8 hours a day at the board for the last year because they want it so badly. That's a real joy as well.
Yeah, that's also always my answer, and I told Mark, it's like never say never, because you maybe if you tell anybody, even if it looks absolutely horrible, you can say, oh no, you're never gonna make it. And as you said, a sheer will working every day 20 hours, 20 hours, and then the guy makes it, and you have to swallow your words. So it's like, you know what? Be careful about what you say because it can bite you in the face, literally.
Yeah, and what I will say there also is, have the right attitude. If someone rejects your portfolio, they may be wrong, but they may not be wrong. So just be patient. Just listen to what someone's trying to tell you to help you.
That's also something that you guys need to know. Don't be assholes when somebody criticizes your portfolio.
Yeah.
99.9% of the times when they're criticizing your portfolio is for a good reason. They're trying to help you. So if they're trying to help you and you answer back being an asshole, not a good idea. Just saying.
Unless you're good and fast, right? You gotta have 2 out of the 3.
If you are, let's say, John Byrne asshole,
right?
You have to be John Byrne. Mm-hmm. John Byrne good, I mean. So, good and fast, but, the level of assholery if it gets to a certain level,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, I'm saying, no, maybe you're so good, but man, your percentage of assholery is too big for me. Anyway, we're saying why? Okay, Dinesh, Warren, why the name Bad Idea?
I mean, all you gotta do is look at what we're doing. This is a terrible idea. We've just spent the last hour telling you that we do no variants, we do no digital, we do no trades. We don't care how many pages they are. We add extra pages, we add extra stories. We got a book coming out that's $1. It's just because this is a terrible idea.
Not that terrible. Anyway, why, Warren?
I have to concur. This is a terrible idea through and through. If it works, it will be.
I am trying to defend you guys.
There's no need to.
But that's what the name does.
Okay.
That's what the name does, because it is a bad idea. We know it's a bad idea. What we're trying to do is say to people, yeah, we know, but it still might work, and we don't care.
It might work. Fingers crossed. That doesn't work.
Fingers crossed for it to work or for it not to work.
Either way, it's a bad idea, bro.
Everything about it is gonna. We knew it was gonna bring people out that had opinions. It's gonna bring haters out, and the name helps diffuse that. It's hard to hate in a company that knows that they're doing something stupid.
At least that's as my mother would say. At least you know what you're doing something stupid, which is a first step. We have a guy called Manuel Garcia. I think you know him, saying, "Hey, Warren and Dinesh, big hugs."
Manuel, really?
Our Bloodshot artist, the man who launched Bloodshot for us in 2012. Thank you, Manuel. We appreciate it, buddy. Among other
definitive Bloodshot artist, perhaps.
Spider-Man Breakout as well, if I recall correctly. Spider-Man Breakout, yep.
Yeah, Spider-Man Breakout. That was the first. What is the goal? What is the next goal for Bad Idea? What's next? What do you want to do next? Don't tell me the $1 book. That's on the shelf already, or about to. So what's the next crazy idea?
Ooh, we have Dinesh and I have been talking over the last couple of weeks, and we're really going to live up to our namesake in the next little while. I mean, we're just doing bizarre, terrible things for the next 180 days or so. So we're not going to spoil anything here, but I think it's going to be we're really going to hit that Bad Idea name accurately.
That's good. Dinesh, you have something to add, or you don't want to spoil anything either?
No, I'm trying to think of what we can. We have so many stupid things coming up. Sleigh Bells is a terrible idea. It's that Warren loves that. I hate that. A Santa Claus action story set in July. The Lot. It's fascinating. We've got this book, this horror book called The Lot by Marguerite Bennett and Renata Gitas, and it's wonderful, but it's scaring the shit out of people. And so we've determined that it's probably best. We've had such a strong reaction to it. We've determined it's best not to show pages from the book anymore. We're actually going around trying to pull pages. We showed a few early on. We're trying to pull them down from the internet, and we're not going to show any more art from the book because it's causing. It's not like scary visually. It's psychological, existential dread that people are reacting to this book. And so we thought, we don't need it. Whatever, it's fine. People will buy the book if they like the concept and the cover, and we'll leave it at that. That's probably a bad idea. I don't know if anyone's ever done that.
No, 72. We also have a $1 book on sale in a week. When is it? May? The first
May
week
12th.
of May 12th.
Second, yeah.
May, about a pizza detective. It's a great story, but it's putting this out as our $1 debut book essentially is just a terrible, terrible idea. And we're putting an 8-page story in the back of that as well, called Save Now. So we're doing 16 pages of A&E for $1, in addition to other things. This is terrible, terrible ideas.
Yeah, but maybe you'll span a superhero universe or a pizza dog universe out of it.
Yeah. This Pizza Dog I could get behind. I understand Pizza Dog, Pizza Detective. It's just not a great idea. So lots of stuff like that.
As far as I know, the Pizza Dog is going to be in Hawkeye. In the Hawkeye
TV show.
I hope so. That's my guy, David.
I know. That's why I'm mentioning it. That's why I'm mentioning it.
He's my buddy. So I hope so.
I hope so. Imagine another company comes to you guys and asks you, I wanna be a copycat. I want to do the things you do. As a business model. How much would you say are you fucking nuts and why?
You want to go
I know
first?
you
Warren?
didn't expect that question.
Well, look, I think that the thing that we do at the end of the day, look, we have our crew is hardworking. So like we joke a lot, but we put the hours in. So we also have hopefully a sensibility in the market which is unique to us
Hmm.
as far as the content goes, which is really where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
Which is really, are the books good? And I think that again, that's, dare I say, unique to us, as it was at Valiant, to a certain extent.
Hmm.
So hopefully, when you purchase one of our products, if you can find it, you'll understand that it's one of the best books in the industry. So hopefully, it's not something which is replicatable.
Hmm.
But that just might be my ego talking, David. You know what I mean?
That's good. That's good to have an ego.
Yeah.
If you are not behind or trust your books, who the fuck is gonna do it?
Yeah,
Right.
and look, also, it's our creators. I mean, it's our writers and it's our artists and it's our team and it's us giving them the environment to build and to do crazy things. And Robert Van Didden sent me an 8-page story that he wrote called Pizza Detective and said, I have no idea what you're going to do with this, but I wrote it. And if you want to buy it. And we read it and we love it. And we get laughing on it, So it's also our creators. It's our team. It's, Adam and Josh working, 20 hours a day or, as much as is humanly possible,
Mhm.
after, helping shape the thing. And, it's our whole squad, so hopefully that's unique to us. But, also, as Dinesh was saying, we're very content to set copious amounts of money on fire to build this thing, which is also a terrible, terrible idea. I mean, it's like a plane in steep descent, bro. You know what I mean? So you could pull up.
Okay, but you think you're a disaster movie or you are Airplane?
I love
I think we're
Airplane.
Airplane. I think we're Airplane.
Because I think you're Airplane. Disaster movie or something else, and I could name some companies here, but I'm not going to that are disaster mode. But they start
That's wonderful.
with D
I'm
and
gonna
probably
steal that,
follow
David.
with the C. But aside of that, I think you're
Can I steal
Airplane,
that?
right?
That's great. We thought we were a disaster movie up until the launch, and now we're looking at the numbers and we're like, oh, maybe we're Airplane. Maybe we're just a giant joke on everything in comics. This should not work.
Wait, Airplane, not Airplane 2, the sequel. No, not that one.
No, not the sequel.
That's really bad. It's not a bad idea. It's just a bad movie. You're Airplane, the original, not the sequel.
At least for now.
We got I love Airplane. I love Kareem. This is good, man. I like this. I like where we're going.
Good. Normally I ask this to people, but I think your answer is going to be different. I always ask comics storytelling. If I ask you, what is it? Is this a symphony? Is it jazz? Or is it rock and roll? In terms of Marvel and DC, the answer is for me, it's always a symphony, like opera, because superheroes. So you have your highs and lows, the big Wagner moments, blah blah blah, if you want to call it. But you guys, what are you? Are you punk? Are you jazz? Or are you rock and roll?
Hopefully
jazz,
we're all.
Man. I don't know. I think we're jazz, but nothing makes sense. None of it makes any sense until you step back. Maybe a bad idea. We were a little more punk or rock and roll, but here, how do you go from a $10 Walesville 72-page book to literally the next week when we've already said we're not going to be publishing more than once a week? A $1 pizza. I mean, that's jazz, right? That's not to say it's good. Jazz can be really bad, but it's fun for the people playing it.
Hopefully we're a venue that has everything. I like a little bit of punk. I like a little bit of jazz. I like a little bit of rock and roll. So for me, it's hopefully a combination of all of them. But there is a free-form, flowing kind of jazz thing that we're doing as well. I think that's astute as well.
Mm-hmm. And do you think is there any limits to the stories that comics, and of course in your case, Bad Idea, can tell? And I'm not talking only about the kind of story. I'm talking about the format. I'm talking about everything. Is there any limits, or the limits are something that companies, for whatever reasons, as you said before, Warren, of course, being corporations means some limitations. But the limits for comics, are there because of corporation reasons and not really because of the medium?
I think that we're limited to a certain extent by our staff and by the size of our company, but that's it. I mean, I don't think the medium's limited at all into what we can do, what stories we can tell. You know, we can go anywhere, we can do anything. We have, you know, it was a good year for us because we're able to build so much, David, and we have so much wild stuff coming up, you know, across so many different genres, so many different types of stories. You know, we're spanning, you know, the history of mankind in all different genres. So I think we have a lot of really great stuff coming up that we haven't announced or even gotten out the door yet. You know, it's hard time sometimes to remember that we've only published, I think, 4 comics at this point in time, and one of them was under an alias. So a lot of this has come very quickly. I mean, obviously, you know, Dinesh and I have a very long history working together at Valiant, where I think, what did we publish? 800 comics, 1,000 comics, Dinesh? 500 comics?
1,000, yeah.
1,000, you know, and David, you and I go back before then. But, you know, Dinesh and I have been working together pretty closely for about a decade at this point in time. So, you know, it's nice to, in some ways, you know, at the Valiant universe, we knew what we had, and we were trying to really do something which is a little bit different, which is reopen a restaurant, as it were, that was once storied and great, but had sort of fallen by the wayside, and really revitalize those characters and redesign Exo and Bloodshot and Harbinger and Archer and Armstrong, and really lean into who those characters were and show the love that we felt for them, that as a proof of concept they could exist in the marketplace. That this was the 4th biggest publisher in the world at one point in time, if you put the resources behind it, which is really the key, as we've seen. You know, now it's just a much different proposition. Now we're not restrained by a costume redesign or, you know, what people think the universe was or was not. Same with Marvel, David. I mean, there are obviously restraints there, and you could, you know, sort of get a little bit of elbow room and do something different. But at the end of the day, it's probably going to be a guy in a costume, you know what I mean, or a girl. You know, so now it's just we have rocks with giant shoes walking around, and a pizza detective, and, you know, we have ENIAC. So I think that we can go anywhere and do anything that we want to do. We're just only limited by our imagination, by, you know, there are many times Dinesh and I'll be talking, and he'll say, "Yeah, that's good. That's the 25th hour in the day that we don't have." So we are limited only by time, you know.
And is there anything that Warren keeps asking you to do, and you always say not that one, Dinesh, and the other way around? Is there anything, Dinesh, that you keep wanting to do?
Oh, there's so many things that I ask
not
for.
That one.
That Warren shuts down. I have all the bad ideas. No, Warren's got good ideas. We do a lot of what Warren says. They're good ideas.
Yeah, I think David, again, this goes back to the team thing, where we're just lucky to have a group of collaborators that hopefully we won't strangle each other to death over the next year or so. You know what I mean? I think we've got a good crew, and we've been working together for the past 10 years. We're lucky to have Adam here. We're lucky to have, you know, Josh here. We're lucky to have Hunter here. You know, we're lucky to have Carl and Anthony and the whole crew. We work real hard, man. So, you know, the only
and Bobby, you forgot about Bobby again.
Bobby, love you, Bobby. Love you, brother. Keep it up. But we're only limited by just by time, and that's really the ultimate factor, I think. You know, just really trying to make sure that we're not going so far out over our skis that we miss something. You know.
Yeah, I was just trying to get why one thing you always say no to the other, in terms of that's too crazy. But I can see that nothing is too crazy right now, right?
Not right now. No.
Not yet.
But hopefully we'll keep it that way.
How are you guys in time? Can you stay for some more minutes, or you need to go?
Okay.
I don't want to keep you too much. Just so I'm just asking.
No. We haven't just launched a publishing company where 75 things are on fire, bro. We're great, dude. We're good.
Okay, so you're telling me to cut it.
No, I'm good. How about like 10 minutes, buddy? 10 more minutes?
Okay, that's a good one. So let me ask you one thing. I believe comics is the only art form.
You've helped me out so many times, David. You take as long as you want, buddy. I owe you in perpetuity.
Nah. I don't want to be the cause of your company to die, because
you pulled us out of the fire so many times, David. How can I possibly?
It's so good. So I was going to ask, I think comics is the only art form that can defy Einstein's theory of relativity. And let me explain. With other art form, the arrow of time is always going to go in this direction. You know, it's always going to go forward, because that's how you read a novel, That's how you watch a movie, etc. You can do a flashback, but it's always going to feel jarring. Do you read that comics gives you the chance to just play with time and space in any way you want, and that's the only art form that can do it without feeling out of place? That is always
That's
been a
fucking
part of the
amazing,
language.
David. That's amazing. It's an amazing way to look at comics.
Quietly just did or a while ago, I should say, he did a TED Talk, I think. It was very brief, if I remember it. He was breaking down like a couple of pages from E3, and he was talking just about that, how it's the only medium where you can go from here to here to here to here in a non-linear fashion. And it's all about how you process it. Frank is obviously a genius, and he explained it much better than I did.
Mhm.
But it's not super different from what you're saying, David. You know what I mean?
Imagine that's how I talk to Frank, by the way. Every conversation we have with a coffee is about these crazy things. When I have him here, we were talking for an hour about this, for 2 hours actually.
Yeah.
About the language, and then we called Grant, and Grant normally says, "Nah, I'm not gonna do one of those." But we were both like, just watch the one. Just watch the one I did with Frank, and like 10 minutes later, Grant was going. I want to do it because you're
Amazing.
talking about the things I like to talk about. And Frank told me that you know why they created We3? Literally, it was because they were talking, and they keep challenging each other. Grant and Frank. If I call him Bean, that's his name. Don't worry about that. I normally go with his real name. So we're talking about the new projects, and Grant was trying to pitch him Guy and others, and like nah. And then he talked about a project about dogs with helmets and all that, and Frank was like, "Yeah, I'm not really interested." And Grant literally challenged him and said, "Okay, you're not going to be able to do a book that has to be read 360 degrees every single page." And that's when Frank turned around and said, "Fuck, I'm doing it." Because
Amazing.
that's the way they roll. When they work with each other, like Pax Americana, like Flexland, any other project, the way they do it is how can we challenge each other to break the limits of comics.
Yeah, he just did a podcast. I'm forgetting the name of it, but he broke down the Pax Americana page where it's 9 panels, and then it's like 3 different time periods within each panel, and then it's just that's the beauty of our medium, man. I mean, like Frank and Grant just or Frank. I'm a Frank Quietly stan. I think Dinesh is as well. You know what I'm saying? We love his work. We talk about it all the time. So for us, just seeing like even that section in We3 where the pages are turning, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're seeing this is a mastery on par with anything we've ever seen, really. So for me, it's that's really where it comes to the golden age, where you have the creators who are doing stuff like that.
Absolutely, and that's why I think that's how I always think about comics, about how they can mess with your head, because it's the only art form also, that use two of the lobes on your brain is, is like the language and the images, one or the other. I don't know where you look at me, probably saying it the other way, but you use both at the same time, so you can do 2 alternative things at the same time, meaning the writing is telling one thing and the images are telling other, and you're playing with time and space at the same time. Is that something that you guys like to do in your comics? Not challenge the reader, but not talking down to him or her. Like, I know you're going to understand it even better than we think, because you've been reading comics forever. So we're going to count on you to go farther and deeper into the language.
For me as an editor, David, Kint is someone who always plays with form. Like Matt's stories, he's in the Hero Trade or in ENIAC or a bunch of other things coming up. He's always someone who's always, building a Burroughs-esque story and then cutting it up and resorting it. So there's definitely a lot of stuff like that, especially in ENIAC where we have flashbacks. We're cutting through, and there's a story about a malevolent artificial intelligence who launched the second nuke in World War II. The Allies launched the first one, but the second one was launched by this malevolent AI they built that was happening at the same time they were developing the Manhattan Project. They accidentally built artificial intelligence. But what you're talking about for the most part is, like, I read a lot of comics. I might read 10, 15 new comics a week, especially now. Just getting to a baseline of it being competent is very difficult.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
especially with all the challenges of time, especially if you're trying to do 12 of these every 22 days. Like, it can feel like a car rolling downhill without the brakes, and you're just trying to guide the thing. So for me, if you can get to that baseline level of it being a good ABC story, which is of course ubiquitous for all storytelling, it's no different than TV or movies. How many bad movies or TV shows do you see? It's not something which is unique to us. But obtaining that level of mastery, if it's in the wrong hands, David, it could be a real lethal proposition, as it were. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, but I am also a pain in the ass in always thinking that the way Alan Moore thought about Watchmen, it's like, I did it so nobody could replicate it in any other language. I'm talking about the language of comics. This is what I want to do.
Yeah. And just it's hard to get to that level of mastery, of course. You know this, bro.
No, of course I know, but that's why I'm asking if that's also part of the goal as an editor, as a publisher. My idea is to try to explore the language in a deeper way that you guys could in Valiant, because, of course, the time constraints, the type of comics, etc. Even if you have a lot of masterpieces there, like Valiant and others.
We're not Morrison and Quietly, so we can't build we three, I think, but the hero trade, I think, is that. I think it's how do you create an entire superhero universe that's completely different from the superhero universes that are out there, of which they are ubiquitous, and do it in only 8 pages with no color, right?
Yeah.
No backstory. And it worked. That's fantastic. We've got another book that David actually is throwing as well that's coming up, that we don't want to talk too much about what we're going to do with it, but it is something that I don't think comics have done before. I don't know if it'll work, but it challenges the point of view of the reader, the omniscient viewpoint. So we're always trying to do that. We did it at Valiant towards the end as well. I think it is really one long trajectory for us. We did one of the ones I'm really proud of is the Eric Heiser, Adam Polina Secret Weapons one shot that we did. That was all the exact same framing with the exact same composition for the main character throughout the entire story.
Yeah, and even David, looking at something like this is a book that we're doing now. This is the Adam Polina art on the book that we're doing called Rocks and Minerals. And Adam has built this entire book as a series of double-page spreads. I don't think this was in the script. So Adam has built this beautiful sort of comprehensive book where everything's based on double-page spreads, and there's a lot of movement between the panels. And it's really looking at the whole thing as a broader tapestry. So we're definitely always trying to push the boundaries, and as Dinesh noted, that the Eric project that we did at Valiant, it was the same panel. It was the same panel position that the artist drew, just repeated over and over and over again for 22 pages. Obviously, it's very helpful when you have a genius like Eric Heiser and Adam Polina on it. But yeah, we're always definitely trying to push the boundaries in that capacity. But I think one of the challenges of our medium, David, is even just getting up to a baseline level is so difficult. You know what I mean? Like, even getting to like a baseline level is because you have to. It's an immersive medium where you really have to delve into the thing. It's not a passive medium like TV where you could just sit and they'll explain the story for you. You know what I mean? And there are just layers upon layers upon layers.
But there's also an opportunity for us, right, Warren? I mean, there's an opportunity that we have that Quietly and Morrison don't have, because we have a company that's every month, every week, there's a meta narrative that I think that we're telling, which is like, our company is the only company I think that has like a character of a personality, like it's kooky. And there's that meta narrative that we found, even though we've only published 4 books, 4 single issues, one of them not under our name, people have consumed the bad idea content as if there's more, because there is more, because there is this whole crazy, characterization that we're building for everything that we're doing. And so perhaps that's our way of trying to tell a new type of story.
Yeah, we're insanely ambitious, David. Definitely, there's no doubt.
No, and that's exactly what Dinesh and you just said. That's exactly what I was asking for. It's what's the idea behind the bad idea? Sounds stupid, but if the goal is to get there, it's there. That limit is there, which is the type of stories that sometimes people doesn't dare going for, because that's not the stories that the American industry of comics has told. And sometimes you're like, why not? Just asking yourself that question is really important, right?
Yeah, but it's impermanent. What's interesting about it is it's impermanent, right? Like, we did the button, and the button launched the hero trade. And the hero trade, the physical comic that people will read in 10, 20 years, a big component of that storytelling is this marketing, pseudo story meta narrative that came with it. I wonder what that story will be like to read when you've lost, when the kind of waves of time have washed away the meta narrative that we're telling.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, we're very much if you're into Bad Idea, you better be consuming it now, because it's going to literally fade away.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know that anyone else is doing that. I don't know. It's not our goal, but it's maybe by necessity we've done it.
Mm-hmm. What?
And also, David, another way to take a look at it is the stories that we're telling themselves as opposed to the structure of the stories. Do you know what I mean? Just like The Hero Trade, which is a story about an 8-page story about a guy who's got the body of a superhero in his trunk and he's carving off pieces and selling them, you know, or Whalesville or Rocks and Minerals. So it's also on the, you know, I think we're talking a lot about art and the execution of the art, but it's also, I think, about thematics and the stories that we're broaching as far as what the content is, which is kind of unique to, I think, something that we're doing as well.
How important is for you guys as a company to trust your readers?
It's very, very high. We've built ourselves a company where we're relying on them. We say this to ourselves all the time. We're asking the readers to do a lot. We're asking the retailers to do a lot. We're asking our artists to do a lot, and our writers to do a lot, and hopefully we do a lot as well. But yeah, I mean, it's very easy to look at our books and misunderstand them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're consciously trying to cull the reader. This can sound terrible. The readership that will misunderstand them. We feel like if you misunderstood it, great. We're probably not for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think we're very ambitious that way, and I think we have an enormous amount of confidence that our readers will hopefully come along for the ride for us. But you know, our whole ethos is, you know, we want to be some people's favorite, not everybody's. You know, something everybody likes. We're not trying to sell to 3,000 stores right now. We're not trying to sell 100,000 copies. We're just trying to build something really small and do it one step at a time and have fun while we're doing it.
Yeah, and
the Pizza Detective book, I think, is a great example of that. Hank Howard, Pizza Detective in Caligula Safe, is such an overwrought title. It's in black and white. It's a parody that I'm not sure people are going to understand as a parody. And we chose to make it the tip of our spear for $1. It's not our Avengers. It's not our X-Men. So I think a lot of people will read that saying, I've heard a lot about Bad Idea. They'll check it out and be like, the hell is going on here? And they won't check us out again. And we kind of want that.
Yeah.
But some people, as one said, not everyone will like us, but some people will read it and be like, where's this been my whole life?
Yeah.
And they'll love us.
Yeah, I love that, because by the end of the day, I was talking to some stupid fellow a couple of months ago. You know, when they launched the what's the name of that thing? The new Apple headphones. You know, that are special. And AirPort Max or something like that. And the guy was telling me, "Oh my God, Apple is so bad. It's, you know, because I want it and I can buy it." And it's like, you know that not every product in the market is for you, right?
Right.
So that's that you guys have that goal. Like, I don't need to be everybody's publisher. There's a niche for me where people is going to pick, this is the kind of crazy books I like, but there's other people who doesn't like you. I think that's a much better goal than trying to be liked by anybody else. You know, it's like trying to be friends with everybody in life. No, you got to accept that not everybody's going to like you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's key. I think it's critical. You know, I see so many new publishers out there on the books that they're launching wave after wave after wave. It's just, I could see you can get this in Marvel, you can get this in DC, you can get this in Image. You know, like you have to be, at least your goal is, you know, you have to be ambitious in what you're trying to do here. Otherwise, it's just gonna, you know, you're gonna.
Or worse, you can get this on TV. That happens a lot.
Yes, you can get this on TV. This looks like a pitch. You know, it's like you're gonna have a lot of trades sitting on a lot of planks in a lot of warehouses if that happens. You know. Yeah,
but why being average? I mean, is there? Let me be blunt. Why the fuck would you do a Bad Idea if you wanted to be average?
Right.
Yeah, we would have called it Good Idea.
or do something else more akin to what's already on the market. You know, keeping with the format, keeping with the page count. You know, you guys, I guess, again, correct me if I'm wrong, you could just help with industry standards in a way, instead of going the direction you guys are going. Because again, you did Valiant for a whole lot of years. Why repeat yourselves, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else to add? No. Okay.
No. Well,
we feel it.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't make sense for us to run back to try to publish 6 superhero books a month,
Mm-hmm.
for the next 10 years. We've checked that box as we've done that. I've done that for longer with Marvel. I love superheroes and I love those characters, and I'm not poo-pooing it at all. But it's not all there is that's out there. It's not what our goal is here. It's not what our ambition is. We have some pieces of superhero stuff here, and I love that stuff. I think it's wonderful. But I also love having this crazy diamond. Tony
Show it again. Show it again.
Look at that thing. Look at these shoes, man. Look at these shoes. So that's fun. That's fun for us, and our goal is to have fun with it, and if it winds up bombing like a Led Zeppelin, so be it. We're cool with that. That's all right.
Nah, this is. I honestly think this is not gonna bomb, and what you guys are doing is seriously needed by the industry. It's just we need to keep breaking the mold. That's you mentioned Scott McCloud before, and when I had him here, we were more than 3 hours talking. Again, I'm big on theory and craft. I'm sorry, I'm just fucking nuts.
No, I love it.
And we were talking for 3 hours about that, and Scott started, talking about if you go to that corner of the screen and blah 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 blah, it's this the structuralist and the blah blah blah, and I little said, stop. Just find something in the middle. We can do everything. Why do we have to think that some people does this, some people does that?
Yeah.
It's like with races and the human beings, and every theory in biology, the mix makes us better.
It does. Yeah. Diversity is a great strength.
So it's the same thing. It's the same thing with comics. If we can get something out of everywhere, of all experiences, doing superheroes at Marvel, doing Valiant, doing everything what we've done in life, we are going to get to be a bigger industry. And that's why I love what you guys are doing. Is let's go somewhere else. Let's try something else that nobody else is doing.
That's something we want to be.
Yeah,
something you remember.
Yeah, years ago, David, one of my friends launched one of the new launches from one of the big two, and I went over to the store and I picked it up. I said, "Oh, there's a new #1," and I picked it up and I looked. I said, "Oh, this isn't his book," and I put it down. And then I picked up another one and it was a new #1. I'm like, "Oh, this wasn't his." I put it down. And then I picked up another one and it was finally his launch, and I got it. But it was like, oh, we've got 3 #1s, the same team, the same, all launched probably within 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Like the diversity is our great strength as a medium, whether that's, the content or the publishers, or, the more sort of corporatized it becomes, as with most things, with rare exception, the weaker and more homogenous it becomes.
Mm-hmm.
The more boring it becomes, the more safer it has to become, the more boxes it has to check, the more 4-quadrant, dare I say, it has to become. So these are the things that have never historically been a great strength of our medium. I mean, look at Turtles. I mean, look at Bone. These are books that we looked at when we were beginning to think about what we wanted to be.
Yeah.
And just catching lightning in a bottle, because those are so pure, and it's a creator's vision, and it's something that someone took a chance on. Those are the things that really inspire us, I think.
Absolutely. And there's also, that we are in that era on TV too, where all those titles get the homage they deserve. Bone is going to be on Netflix. Usagi Yojimbo, I had Stan the other day. He's really happy about how it's developing also on Netflix. Invincible is in, Robert is in a different category, but you know what I mean. It's, Invincible is in Amazon Prime. There's also a lot of new venues for people to know comics and to come back to us and to go to a store and maybe say, oh, I don't want Marvel because I can see the movies, but I want the other stuff because I can't find that on TV shows or movies. That opens also the market for you guys, right?
Yeah, it's also wonderful for the creators. It's wonderful to see, especially the creator-owned properties. So many of them get up and it provide another source of revenue for so many creators, whether those are writers or artists. I'd love to see that. I think it's wonderful. I've been a work for hire editor for most of my career, but I've always been a huge proponent of creator-owned books, David. I think that everyone can have one of those that they're chipping away at all points in time.
Absolutely. And that's why I hope you guys succeed, because I think the market needs you. I'm completely honest, and I don't bullshit. I don't have time for that.
No.
I think the market needs you and needs somebody who's just doing something different, just going for broke. It's gonna work? Yeah, maybe not, but even if it doesn't work, it's going to change the market. There, I said it.
It's wonderful. We take you around everywhere.
David, you're the best, buddy. We appreciate it, buddy.
Okay, guys. I heard my wife and daughter just came back from school and groceries, etc. So I should go before they kill me. Not
Of
the
course.
kid, the mother. So thank you so much for being
This was
here.
fun, man. It was super
Thank
fun.
you, David.
You guys are amazing. Love you. Miss you a lot. So I hope this shit ends
We'll all get
soon.
together.
Yes.
So we can
Just
get
hope-
together. And Hank sent something about bringing you. So Hank, oh, you're so lost now. You know me enough to know I'm going to get that word. You're dead if you don't do it. Anyway, we were saying, have a
Thank
nice
you,
weekend,
David.
you all. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. And Monday is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to have Kieran Gillen with us. Not to talk about Star Wars, but, that's the
Wow.
day. And he's done Star Wars, so it was an excuse to have him. So take care. See you all on Monday. We're off